NFTs or non-fungible tokens are perhaps an area that I'm not very knowledgeable about. Yet, in looking up the potential in the NFT space, I found that an estimated 250,000 people trade NFTs each month on OpenSea, which, of course, is a platform which allows you to do that. The top 5 countries and the biggest NFT adoption area are in Asia. Over 50% of all NFT sales are below $200 US. Over 10,000 active wallets are participating in NFT transactions daily, and around 6,000 unique buyers are involved in purchasing NFTs. According to data shared by non-fungible.com in their quarterly NFT market report for the third quarter of 2022, at the end of this period, there were about 150,000 buyers for 110,000 sellers. Oh, all interesting stats, I'm sure, but what can NFTs do to help drive business growth? I'm hoping that our guest can educate us. Hello, and welcome to the Predictable B2B Success podcast, brought to you by spreadworth.com. I'm Vinay Koshi, and our guest is Patric Chan. Now, Patric, you are a best-selling author of multiple books, internet marketing pioneer, and international speaker. You share the stage with presenters from the likes of Google and IBM. You have been featured in newspapers and business magazines, taught your techniques and strategies to thousands of your students. In fact, I think one of your products is one of ClickBank's top affiliate marketing products. So I'm curious, was there a particular point at which you decided to dive into this NFT space? If so, what was the trigger?
Sure thing. First of all, Vinay, I just want to say that thank you so much for having me here to share some of my experience and knowledge about this domain with your audience. It's a privilege to be here. I know not everybody gets to be on your podcast, so thank you again.
No worries, pleasure. Was there a specific incident that triggered this journey into the
Yes,
NFT space?
it did, Vinay. That's a good point because it's rather shocking to make a transition or to explore into NFTs. But to be more precise, I wanted to explore into Web3. So not particularly about NFTs. However, NFTs will be the door, the window, the easiest form of getting introduced into the world of Web3. But I came from a background of being an internet marketer, a digital marketer, an influencer, an author, and all this kind of stuff, more as a content curator, where I have my free content, I paid courses, seminars, coaching program, and the whole 9 yards. So it was a transition, I would say. So to bring that up, it all happened in 2021. I was minding my own business as usual, but I also listened to Gary Vaynerchuk. This guy, Gary V, he used to swear a lot. He has changed his model. He doesn't swear that much anymore nowadays. All right. So everybody may have heard about Gary V. If not, then you just type Gary V and you should be able to find his content available everywhere. So I was always impressed with his business models, the way how he articulate his message to the audience in a very different manner sometimes. Then in 2021, he starts to talk about NFTs, non-fungible token. And of course, we'll dive a bit deeper to explain what is NFTs after this. But I just like to address the questions. How in the world that out of the blue, Patric decided, hey, let's go and do some NFT stuff. So 2021, Gary said he launched this thing called NFTs. And he has his first collection called the V-Friends. At that time, V-Friend was sold for 1 ETH. 1 ETH is 1 Ethereum. Now, back in 2021, I could not remember exactly how much 1 ETH will cost in US dollar. Give or take, maybe about $2,000 or $1,500. I could not remember the exact number. But the point is that I didn't buy because I was thinking, who would be that crazy person to buy a JPEG image for $1,500 or $2,000, right? I could not grasp it. And I was thinking, now, even with a Gary V brand, if this goes successful, maybe I could sell it for 1.5 ETH, which means profit myself of 50%. But it's too risky for me to invest 1 ETH to make back 0.5 ETH. So it doesn't make sense. So I says, you know what? I can lose one if I'm not going to do it. But little did I know, after a while, VFriend goes to as much as 8 ETH. Get this, which means it's 8 times the growth, or should I say
Mhm.
return of investment. And some of it has gone up to the 20 ETH. So it's crazy. It's it's insane. I was thinking, holy moly, cow, this is totally crazy. So I started to explore into the world of NFTs. I was thinking, now, could it be the next breakthrough? If Gary Vee, someone who is a major influencer, a social media expert, specialist, guru, influencer, whatever you call him, is going to put his name on this thing called NFT, it has to mean something. So I started to explore. And here's a little backstory. I downloaded an app called VV where you can buy NFTs. And this
Mhm.
NFT belongs to major brands, billion-dollar brands like Disney, Marvel, um, all those big brands, right? So I saw this Captain America NFT and I wanted to buy. And in the NFT world, they have this thing called the drop date. Not drop date, but drop date. Like the day the NFT will be released. They call it the drop, DROP. So I
Mhm.
went in there and I said, you know what, it's launched. I'm just going to go ahead and click and buy and to see what is it all about. And it was a shock where within a few seconds, all was sold out. When I get it, this is crazy. Based on my calculation, Vivi, with partnership with Marvel, they will have made millions within seconds. Within seconds. That's how crazy it is. And I had to buy from a secondary market, which means someone have bought it and they sold it to me for X dollars of markup. In fact, a lot more money. I bought that. And then I bought Spider-Man NFT. And then I start showing my wife. It says, hey, this is what I bought. And then my wife was a bit bizarre and asked me, what did you buy? What did you really buy? I showed to her this image, this Spider-Man image. Then, isn't this something that you could just get it for free even if you don't pay for it? You could have, it's yours. I mean, you can see it. But I says, no, dear, you don't understand. This is NFTs, which I'm going to explain to you what do I mean by that shortly. And then after that, I continued to buy more NFTs. And then my wife just gave me the permission to buy. She said, you can buy, but just don't buy too many. So I start collecting it, right? And that is where I understand what is actually happening. So that's how I got started into that. But the bigger takeaway is that I realized that whatever I'm doing with internet business, creating content, creating products, and so on, maybe my growth could go like this. But in order to go 10x or even more than that, it requires a different game. It requires a different kind of mindset and
Mhm.
also kind of vehicle. So that's how I got into NFTs. Yeah.
Now, not all of the audience would be familiar with the term NFTs, so it would be helpful to clarify what NFTs are. But also, it would seem that for at least people who, like myself, who don't invest in NFTs, that it's often associated with speculative markets. It'd be helpful if you could explain what NFTs are, but also explain how NFTs have value beyond just being, say, a financial instrument, especially in the context of the creator economy.
Great. My pleasure to share this. So let's start with the very basics of it. Like, what is NFT? Of course, NFT stands for non-fungible token. But to understand what is NFT, non-fungible, we want to understand what is fungible. So let's say I took out $100 bill from my pocket and I pass to Vinay. I pass to you. And you keep that and then you give me $100 from your pocket, which is not the same note. And I take that bill, the $100 bill, and I go outside there to the marketplace to buy something. The marketplace will accept it as $100 worth. Regardless, that wasn't the same bill I passed to you because
Mm.
that is called fungible. It's the value that counts. It is not unique. Similarly with Bitcoin. If I send you one Bitcoin, you send me one Bitcoin, although they are not the same Bitcoin at all, the market will perceive, or should I say, will accept the value of one Bitcoin.
Mm.
Now, that is fungible. To understand non-fungible, we can look at the offline world in order to relate to the online world. A classic example that I've always shared with my students and customers is the famous painting of Mona Lisa. Today, Mona Lisa, probably it's in France in the museum. I say probably because I watched too many conspiracy movies. There are people who have stolen it and they put a fake one there. And, too many movies. Oh, sorry, gets to my mind. So anyway, assuming that it wasn't stolen. So there's only one Mona Lisa in the museum in France today. But today, you and me and everyone else in the world can have our own Mona Lisas, which are all the replicates one. And they look identical. They look the same, which means we could enjoy the Mona Lisa painting. We could have it by replicates.
Mhm.
However, we do not own it because there's only one. And that is what is defined as non-fungible. Now, that is where the breakthrough comes in with NFTs. Because for the first time in the history, imagine a digital piece can now be unique. Now that would be crazy because today there's this technology called copy and paste. You can send, you can forward and everything else. So a digital piece cannot be unique. The same PDF file can be copy and paste and duplicate for unlimited numbers. Same with a JPEG image. But now we enter the world of Web3, to be more specific, in blockchain. So when an image or a digital piece is minted, M-I-N-T, that's the word they call it, when it's minted to become an NFT, it will have a smart contract in the blockchain. And when that happens, the blockchain technology will authenticate that this piece, it is now unique by its own. So let's say I send to you an NFT. It goes through the blockchain. So there is the smart contract being generated. And because it's in the blockchain, there's a ledger where the whole world can see that. So there's no more argument. I could not say that, or let me put it this way, I cannot deny that I did not send to you because it is in the smart contract. You cannot deny that I did not send to you because it is in the smart contract. Since there's no more argument, that's the power of it. That's the technology behind that. And with
Mhm.
that, now every digital piece can be unique because I could send to you that piece and I say, hey, I'm just going to do 10,000 pieces of this particular image. And now it is in the ledger and they can see who owned these 10,000 pieces. So that is NFT at its core. And that is the first element of Web3 that I wanted to share. So when we speak of NFTs, I'm not speaking about buy low, sell high, and all those quick rich hype, all this nonsense stuff. I'm not referring to any of those. What I'm referring to is the creator economy. Because imagine now, as a creator, we'll be able to use NFTs to deliver our content. This will take our business to a whole next level. And the adaptation towards this, it's getting better and better every day because there are many billion-dollar companies who are releasing their NFTs, which we can talk more about that later on.
Mhm.
Some practical usage towards NFTs with their customers. So let's look at why someone buys NFTs in order for us to know how to sell the NFTs. Shall we do
Mhm.
that? Sure. All right. Okay. So remember earlier I was sharing the story that I started buying NFTs out of curiosity, right? So it was relatively low price NFTs, less than $100. And after that, I started to have more courage. To be frank,
Mhm.
I started to understand the game. And then I go to OpenSea and then I started to buy NFTs from independent creators. Independent creators could be you, me, and so on, right? So it's no longer buying from big brands like Disney, Marvel, DC, Superman, Flash, DC, and all of those. So I started to explore that. And the more I'm doing that, the more I understand what is going on. But truth is, the reason why I was buying NFTs that time wasn't with the mentality to make any money, but to understand what's going behind the mentality, the mindset of the buyer. Because is it
Right.
fair? Yeah, because is it fair for me to say, in order for us to sell NFTs, we must know why people buy NFTs in the first place.
Mhm.
Just like in anything that we do. If we want to sell something, we have to be the customers to understand that. So what I was trying to achieve is to understand the mindset, the psychology behind that. And news is I finally understand why people buy NFTs. So there are three reasons.
Mhm.
The first one, which is the most common one, it's for speculation purpose. They treat NFTs as a financial instrument to make money. Buy low, sell high. Simple
Mhm.
concept. An example for that would be like, say, just an example, like Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump, the ex-president of the United States, had his own NFT collection. And it was a success. He made many millions by launching it. But the thing is, after it is launched, the first series, after it was launched, the price goes down. And it is probably because it's a mixture of people who supported Donald Trump and also speculators, which
Mhm.
means they buy and then the price goes up, they will sell it because they just want to make money, speculation. So after that, the price goes down. So the whole concept is to buy when it is launched and when the price goes up, sell it, and that's about it. First reason.
Mhm.
And that's also the reason why many people who buy NFTs for this reason, it is suffering from great losses right now. They don't really understand what's happening. They were just following the trend, so to speak, of making money, following this quick rich mentality, all
Mhm.
this kind of. Second reason, when I went to OpenSea to buy NFTs, I have also bought Adidas NFT. Now, God knows why I buy that, but actually, I bought Adidas NFT. Yes, Adidas has its own NFT. One of the reasons why I bought it was because I'm an Adidas fan. I like the apparels, I like the clothing, I like the track suits, everything, the jackets, and so on. So I bought it. Then I realized the second reason why someone buy an NFT, it is for the quote unquote bragging rights. As you can see, I have just subconsciously brag about my Adidas NFT by telling people, hey, I'm a fan of Adidas, therefore I have the NFT. Or I have the NFT because I want to show that I'm an Adidas fan. So it shows that, hey, you are part of something. And during the craze, or should I say during the peak days of NFTs, there's this NFT that you may see, this ape face NFT, which is called the Bored Ape Yacht Club or
Mhm.
Yacht Club, depending on whether you are from England or from US. The word yacht, I never got it right. So yacht, the sale. Now let's keep it as called Bored Apes. But there was a time celebrities were buying these bought NFTs. And they're spending six figure to even seven figure for an NFT. Justin Bieber, Jimmy Fallon, Dave Chappelle, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and a few more. Even Madonna, if I'm not mistaken. So why people buy that? It's crazy, right? Why would you spend six figures even for financial return? That's sorry for me to say this, but that's silly. If I have 100,000 US dollar to buy something for investment, I wouldn't buy a bought ape. I would probably buy Meta stocks or any
Sure.
other. You see where I'm coming
Yeah.
from, right? I'm not saying that you should buy Meta stocks, but I think that would probably be a safer bet than buying an NFT for 100K. So
Mhm.
it must have a secondary reason, and it is the bragging rights. Here, I'm part of this. I'm significant. Dude, if I can spend few 100,000 on an image, uh, I'm serious. I'm somebody. So that kind of stuff. Just like Visa spends hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a crypto punk during the early days. Now, of course, that's an investment as well, but it's to signify that, hey, we are in the game. Like we are somebody, right? So that's the second reason. Now, However, as an independent creator, for you and me, although we can mint our NFTs, but we cannot tap on these two psychology, financial instrument or bragging rights. Why? It is not that we are not good. It is just because our reach are not there. Those who have financial instrument advantage are like Donald Trump. It's a brand that the world knows, which means there's enough volume. Or Puma, Adidas, Batman. So this is global brands, right?
Mhm.
And we could not tap on bragging rights, not because that you are not famous. You are famous among your peers, among your customers, similarly to all independent creators. But we could not reach the mass market. So how do independent creators tap on this for their creator economy? Which leads to the third reason why someone buys an NFT, which is called the utility. Imagine that we should sell our content as utility. So that takes the whole selling content, giving content to the whole next level. But before that, I just want to pause for a while to see if there's anything that I can clarify before I get into the next chapter of our session today.
No, that sounds good so far. So tell us about utility.
Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. The easiest concept of utility would probably be a book. Let's say, do I have any of my book? Oh, my book is there. No, that's okay. I don't have to get my book. Anyway, let's take the book. As we know, an ebook it is for its content because you
Mm.
don't hold it. There's nothing. You buy an ebook not because you want to hold it or to show, because it's an ebook. You're just buying for content. Now, what if you could sell an ebook and at the same time attach advantage of ownerships towards the ebook for that? So this is the concept that I coined called NFT book. Similar concept to the physical book, where
Mhm.
now someone can own the book. So with a physical book, if you read it and you don't like it, you can sell it, you can throw it away, you can give to someone, and so on, right? And what
Mhm.
if we can apply the same concept with an ebook? So instead of selling, say, an ebook for just a book, what if we sell it as an NFT? And in fact, I've seen a famous person, I wouldn't say a famous author because it's not more of author, it's more like a
Mhm.
consultant who deploy similar concept. But of course, the most classic example would be my own deployment because I've sold my book as an NFT book. So I have this book called Wake Up Millionaire that I sell in Amazon, on my websites and so on. And I tested this new model and said, you know what? I'm not going to sell in Amazon anymore. What if I sell it as an NFT? Now, what is the advantage of this? Now, imagine if you bought it as an NFT, it means that it also has some digital asset capability to it. Now, what do I mean by that? To make it simpler to understand, let's take a famous author. Let's take Harry Potter's author. J.K. Rowling. Imagine J.K. Rowling wasn't J.K. Rowling yet. And she said the first time she's going to sell the Harry Potter book as NFT, she said, I'm going to sell this Harry Potter book, 10,000 copies as NFTs, right? And it's just going to be limited, which means after the 10,000 are sold, no more. And
Mhm.
you bought it, right? You bought it. And you're buying it because you want the book, you want the content of it, you want to read the book, but you weren't thinking of the speculation market whatsoever. So you bought it, right? And also you want to show people that, hey, I'm a supporter of J.K. Rowling and all this kind of cool stuff. And little did you know, Harry Potter becomes a sensation, it becomes a global brand, super famous and so on. And imagine this, you are now the one of the 10,000 people who have the first version of Harry Potter NFT right now. So that for sure will have a market value in the future because it becomes a digital collectible. So that's the
Mhm.
first advantage that you have. The second advantage is that now you can prove that, hey, I'm a Harry Potter fan. I own the book because when we buy an ebook, you cannot just flash your book receipt on social media. That would be silly, right?
Mhm.
But with NFTs, you can show it as part of your profiles. Like certain social media websites, such as Twitter, you can actually display your profile not by using your traditional conventional image, but use an NFT as your profile. So when they see that, when they click on that, your profile, it will show them the smart contract that you own the NFT. So that's the second. But the biggest advantage is this. If I sell my NFTs, it also means that I could deliver more perks to my NFT holders in the future without even getting your details, without even getting your data. So as an NFT holder, you are verified by the smart contracts. So you
Mhm.
can go to say a portal or a community and you can access all this content because you're the NFT holder. The NFT becomes a digital token, and this digital token, in a layman's saying, would be a pass for you to access more things. So now I could sell my
Right.
book as an NFT, and then I could launch, say, a book club on, say, a community. And you have the NFT. You cannot access the community and be part of the book club. But in a traditional way, that won't happen. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. Are there applications beyond that of building a community to say perhaps a book launch?
You mean the platform to do the community? Is that what you mean?
No, as in what other use cases could we have by using this by creating NFTs in order to expand on what we're doing? You suggest a book, and therefore, because of the book being sold as an NFT, you now have access to a book club. Are there other applications that you could help us wrap our minds around?
Cool. So do we still want to follow the same example from the book, or you want to go to other tangent from it?
Yeah, other examples, if you
All right.
could.
Okay. So I could do an event, but instead of selling it as traditional tickets, I could sell the NFT. For instance, I could sell the NFTs, and if you have the NFTs, will be the ticket, will be the pass for you
Mhm.
to attend whatever the event is. It could be a concert, it could be a seminar, any
Right.
event that you have in mind. Now, the difference is this: the difference are two advantage. One, you won't have the issue of what's the word called the those fake tickets issue. Like for
Right.
instance, yeah, what's the word you call it? It's what do you
You
call
avoid the whole
fake?
scalping issue.
Yes, correct, correct. You won't have that because they cannot do that. There's no ledger with it. You can duplicate. If you can have the same design or ticket, but without the ledger of the blockchain, we know it is not
Mhm.
real. So that's one.
Yep.
The second part is that someone who is a big fan of it now can flex the muscle and show, hey, I'm going to the event. Because now the ticket becomes a collectible. Let's imagine this. Let's go wild. Now, this is not happening right now because now it's 2023 and this new technology has just been introduced for the past 2, 3 years. But into the future, I believe it's going to be something that is a norm. So let's say Taylor Swift. I'm just making this up. Let's say Taylor Swift. Now, just for the record, if you can get a Taylor Swift ticket, you're amazing. There's no way you can buy Taylor Swift tickets. Just for everybody, I'm trying to get it for my daughter. It's impossible unless you're willing to pay thousands of dollars from a secondary market. But you cannot buy it from the official. Yeah. So who have a Taylor Swift ticket? Is it fair for me to say it is something to flex? Like
Mm.
I got the ticket, and it will be something else to flex in the future by saying I've been to a Taylor Swift concert, right? But there's no proof with the
Mm.
traditional model. But into the future, imagine NFTs have become something common where digital collectibles are something common where you will have your own profile and it show all the collectibles you have digitally. And one of it
Right.
is Taylor Swift tickets. wow, that would be priceless. So now
Mhm.
you can show it that way. So in the future, people are flexing. I'm just trying to find, let's say some cheap pen, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Assuming this is an expensive pen or like a watch and all this kind of stuff, people are flexing their stuff with things, cars,
Mm.
house, and so on. But you cannot flex that digitally. But imagine in the future, someone will be able to click on your profile and see what are your digital collectibles. So that's another case study for that.
So if I can put this a bit differently, you're actually creating content or assets that gives you access to first party data that you would not otherwise acquire in
Yes.
a traditional sense.
And also your own data, it is
Yep.
somewhat safe
Mhm.
because you can still be anonymous if you want to, because
Right.
you're being associated with your wallet ID.
Certainly a play on communities and first party data that makes it quite attractive. When we were talking earlier, you touched upon this idea of decentralization, that NFTs bring decentralization to the
Mhm.
Web3 world. Can you elaborate on that?
Cool. Right. So let's look at centralization. I know, Vinay, you're very well versed with this concept, but just for everyone else about centralization before we
Mhm.
get into
Sure.
decentralization for that matter. So centralization, it's basically this. There's a company who in charge of making sure all the transactions goes well. In other words, let's
Mhm.
say we use social media. When we use social media, yes, it is our content that we post and so on, but they are all controlled by the social media company. For instance, Meta controls
Mhm.
all that, which means I'm not too sure when we sign up for Facebook or Meta, did we agree that all of this content actually belongs to them? I don't know. I didn't read. Nobody really reads that. But as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken with YouTube, do you know that any video that you upload to YouTube actually belongs to them? Something that most people aren't aware of. Now, I could be wrong. You can go ahead and read it. But I would assume that would be the case so that YouTube can do whatever they want with that content. That's how they are able to publish and so on. But at the same time, they can also shut you down. That is social media. And then that's why there's decentralized social media platforms, which I can talk a bit about that if you want later on. The other one would be the finance industry, such as banking. So with banks, they help to facilitate the transactions, which is ideal. I love it. I send to you money, I go through bank and bank ensure everything is safe, and then they just charge a small fee from there. Or it could be a huge fee depending on how much the fee is, right? So that is centralization. Also want to entertain the notion of having decentralization as another option because
Mhm.
it's not about good or bad. It's about us having the options. For instance, when I pay my freelancers in Philippines, I don't use the conventional banking system because it's too costly and too cumbersome. There's just too many process. Got to
Mhm.
go to the bank, leaving a trail and everything else. So I would just send crypto to my freelancers, and the crypto is USDT, which is equivalent to stable coin for US dollar. So it's the same, but it only cost me very minimal fee and the transactions goes through within minutes. You don't need to wait for a day for the bank to authenticate the transaction to wire it to overseas and all this kind of stuff. So when I send to my freelancer fee in crypto, that's called decentralization because there's no one in charge of that
Mhm.
transaction. There's only me sent to that person. So this is why I say there are times that we want decentralization, and of course, there are times that you want centralization. If I'm moving $1 million to Vinay's bank account right now, I want to go through bank because I don't want halfway the $1 million disappeared and
Mhm.
nobody is accountable for that. Pros and cons. With that understanding, let's look at an example how NFTs could be applied into the decentralization world. Because when it comes to decentralization, most of it is based on Web3 applications such as social media or usually related to crypto payments. Usually. but NFTs has a play into that as well. An example, let's say a body or a company wants to raise donations or for charity or for its campaign. Now, to do that officially, they have to have there should be some red tapes involved, a proper fundraise, because you got to have approval, you got to have all of those. Now, what if you can remove all of that, which means decentralization, and do your own fundraising, especially politics campaign?
Mm.
Let's say a politic campaign wants to raise fund in a conventional way. I think there are a few procedures. They need to get approval and all this kind of stuff. But now with NFTs, you don't need to do any of those because you could raise fund by using NFTs. How can that be done? We have seen this in United States and also in Malaysia, where the politicians sell its NFT collections just to raise fund. And with that process, there's no third party involved. The
Mm.
money goes directly to the fundraiser. So that's one way how NFTs are being applied in the decentralization world.
That's very interesting. I'm curious. I'll just stick with the example of politicians. What are they actually selling as part of that NFT?
What are they
A
selling, right?
collection. Yeah.
Right. So they are selling the digital art.
Okay.
So
Of themselves.
okay, so it depends on which politician. But the
Right.
one that I've seen in Malaysia is this
Right.
politician has his own art and digitalize that and to sell it. Now,
Right.
we cannot get into the conversation, is this controversial or is it fake or is it scammy and so on. What I'm saying is that when I use the word we, I'm not referring to you and me. I say like general
Yeah.
we cannot because the context of it is way too big. But
Mhm.
what they get is the digital art of that. Now, will the digital art speculate and become higher in value in the future? Nobody knows.
Right.
However, at the same time, although we did not touch on digital art because we speak about utility, at the same time, digital art had its own market as well. Side note, I tried that model. I took my daughter's art and with my expertise of promoting, launching NFTs, and we launched it in OpenSea without
Mhm.
using my brand, my influence, and so on, but purely on the digital art, my daughter's art. And it's just to test the market. We sold it for only 0.02 ETH, and we managed to make about 1.5 ETH, which is crazy for something that they don't get, except
Yeah.
for the digital. There's no utility whatsoever. But I didn't
Right.
pursue on it. Hold on, just gonna put this aside. I didn't pursue on it because relative it's a small amount of money,
Mhm.
but it was just to test during that trend. Do people buy digital art? And people actually buy that because they want to support the art.
An application for the audience would be really an option to fundraise directly, as
Mhm.
opposed to going down the venture capital route, wherein they could actually produce content or create events, etc.,
Yeah.
and then use that to not just but also build their audience, so to speak, early on in the piece, which
Yep.
has some very interesting applications. You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk earlier on. I'm curious, what are other examples you've seen in the business world of people using NFTs? You've talked about Marvel and DC Comics, etc., selling art, but beyond art, are there other examples that you're aware of?
Yes, plenty of them. In fact, I'm going to stick with global brands, mainstream brands, so
Sure.
that it's easier for everyone to connect. Of course, we can discuss more into independent creators if you want to later on. For instance, Adidas. Adidas has its NFTs through many phases. There are phase
Mm.
one, phase two, phase three, and so on. But one of the latest one is where they will allow you to mint the NFT so that you can get on a wait list to buy the latest edition of their sneakers. So they're launching this
Right.
cool sneakers. If you don't have the NFT, you're not in a waiting list to
Mhm.
buy it first. So that's one example. So people are minting that. Puma did similar concept. I think if I'm not mistaken, when you get that, you also get the merchandise with it. if I'm not mistaken, right? I need
Mm.
to double check because I'm not a big fan of Puma, so I didn't really go and explore about that. Amazing concept with Breitling, the watch, this Breitling watch,
Right.
right? Yeah. So what happened is that they release an NFT for each of their watch. Now that is fascinating. So if you buy a Breitling watch,
Mhm.
you can go back and mint the NFT that's associated to this watch. So now it shows that you are the
Right.
rightful owner of this watch.
Mhm.
And they could also airdrop you some other utilities in the future, but you have that NFT. So
Mhm.
that's another example. Starbucks launched its own NFT as well. Yes, this billion-dollar company called Starbucks, public listed company, it's also doing NFTs. It's a different concept where instead of having the conventional stamps where you can collect the stamps to redeem for something, it's based on NFTs right now. So once you have X amount of NFTs, you will be able to redeem for some cool stuff. And I believe they also have the capability to redeem for a trip to Costa Rica to see the coffee farm. But here's the kicker, here's the fun part. In the traditional way of the card with the stamps, uh,
Mhm.
you have to be the person who collect it all, right? You need to
Mm.
go buy a copy and so on. But right now, you can go to the open market. There will be people who will be willing to sell their NFTs. So now you can buy their NFTs and put it together, and then you have a full collection. So
Right.
it's taking a different path and make it fun, and people wants to have this feeling of collectibles. So
Right.
these are NFTs with applications,
Mhm.
not just digital art, like the one I bought, Spider-Man, Captain America. They're not useless, but they have no functions. They're just there.
Would it be fair to say if we really want to go down this NFT route, then we really need to be thinking about branding as being an integral part of our launch into the NFT space?
I think so. I truly think so. I think it would be an extension from your existing brand.
Mhm.
So this gives you the edge, not just over your competitors, but to your audience to see that, hey, you are there adopting towards Web3 at the same time. So I think it's a brilliant strategy to extend your brand from there.
Right. Brilliant. I know you're not a lawyer, but I think it'd be remiss of us not to explore at least the broad strokes of the legal and regulatory considerations. I'm not sure if the legal and regulatory challenges are different in each country, or that there are some platform related challenges that we need to be aware of as we enter into this space.
Thanks for bringing this up. If you are in United States, you want to be wary of the promises, the claim that you're making. For example, uh, we're doing this interview, this conversation, this chat up to date to the
Mhm.
latest happenings and so on. So if you're watching this or listening to this like in year 2025, everything
Mhm.
changed. Okay. So
Yeah,
just so you know, this is to be released right now. You're listening to the latest stuff, right? Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest, which is a very famous company, launched its NFT collection called, I think it's Impact Theory Founders Key, which is very successful because Tom Bilyeu, it's an influencer, a very famous entrepreneur with millions of followers. So Impact Theory did pretty well. In fact, I think now the reason why I need to state I think simply because I
Mhm.
don't quite memorize numbers. I'm not here
Mhm.
to ask people about numbers, right?
Sure.
But I do my due diligence, I do my research. Whatever I'm sharing here, Vinny, my experience, my own research and so on, so that
Mhm.
shortcut everyone who is listening to go and learn by themselves. It took me 8 months to
Mhm.
become a quote unquote pro in this topic. I do a lot of reading, a lot of listening, buying, selling, launching, lots of stuff, right? Everything.
Mhm.
So going back to this, so I think plus minus maybe $30 million for Impact Theory's launch. But keep in mind, Tom Bilyeu is a very famous entrepreneur with millions of followers, so he can pull such grand launch. SEC from the US recently investigate Tom Bilyeu's NFT collection and says that this violates
Mm,
some of the rules and regulations in US because it has been presented as an opportunity to make money,
mm.
because it has been presented, how would I say in a diplomatic way? But you know what? Let's forget diplomatic way. Sounds like a hype. All right. So one of the sentence that Tom Bilyeu's team has wrote is saying that buy this NFT. Of course, I'm paraphrasing it. I cannot remember the exact sentence. Like, this is your chance to get to invest uh into this, like a business of a Disney before it becomes Disney. That kind of the kind of idea, right? So people
Mhm,
are buying and stuff like that. So they were investigated. And before they reached the verdict of whether this is guilty or not, the Tom Bilyeu's company decided to settle the issue uh, off the book, in the sense that they don't need to go to the court, right? And
mhm,
they were fined for $6.1 million
mm,
just for the fine alone. And there are also many consequences that comes with it. I'm not too sure what are all the those. Maybe they need to do some refunds. They need to stop selling. I'm not too sure what of those, but all of those. And the second one that got caught in that whirlwind and that crazy tornado of SEC going through NFT collections is Stoner Cats. And I have Stoner Cats NFT as well. And Stoner Cats is basically an NFT collection by one of the founders is Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis is a very famous actress who is the wife of Ashton Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher, famous actor and now an entrepreneur. So they launched Stoner Cats, where if you
mhm.
had the NFT, you'll be able to watch a series of cartoons. But people don't really watch the series of cartoons, I think, because it costs us about $1,000 to watch those cartoons. So I don't think people are buying for the cartoon, but people are buying it as an opportunity to make money, as an investment. So it has also been presented as an investment, I believe. So SAC has investigated that, and Stoner Cat's team decided to not go to the court and pay the fine as well for $1
Mhm,
million. And there are many consequences behind that. If you go to OpenSea right now, all the project has been halted. You cannot buy the NFT or whatever it is. I'm not too sure what's the latest thing going on, but that's my point. My point is that you want to be careful, but the most important part is that it will not affect us because we are not pitching. We are not saying that, hey, you're going to make money with this. As a
Right.
my only piece of advice is to use NFTs to offer the utility for your customers. And at the same time, if you are a good brand and you do a good job, they will also feel proud to be part of your brand. And that comes with the bragging rights automatically. And thirdly, if you become successful or you become more successful
Mhm,
and you're able to sell the NFTs for a higher price, that's a bonus. But
right.
there's still an opportunity for gain in terms of financial gain to selling that. And that should not be the main focus. That will be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to work hard for my brand and you're going to be part of my brand. If I achieve success, you get a piece of it as well. That kind
Mhm.
of.
I'm curious, from what you were saying, I would imagine that scarcity often drives value in the NFT world. Should we be talking about strategies for creating scarcity and demand for NFTs, especially for businesses that are considering tokenizing their assets?
Yes. So thanks for bringing that up, because there's an era of strategies you can deploy for businesses. This is very exciting because you can do a limited NFTs. You could do a soul-bound NFT where it is not even transferable. You cannot sell it, but you're just part of the ecosystem. You
Mhm,
can do NFTs that has unlimited numbers to be minted, but you have to mint it before whatever date it is. So it depends on your business model, what you want to achieve. Is it you want to create the scarcity for you to reach X amount of customers Therefore, you say, okay, I will only sell X amount of NFTs. Or it's a strategy of so-called quote unquote crashing the market, disrupting the market by giving out as many NFTs as possible, but there's X amount of thing. You can go and mint NFTs, but for just these 3 days. So then you want to create the bars, everything. Like for instance,
Mm.
I'm just making this up. I'm going to apply this in the local business. Let's say I have a local business that sells something that is more mainstream, such as drinks, for instance.
Mm.
I can say, hey, you can go ahead and mint your NFT for these next 3 days. And if you have the NFT, you can come over and claim the drink for free. Now, I'm not asking you to do this because you lose money by giving the drinks for free. I'm just trying to imply an idea for that. And then you have press release and everything else, and it becomes like a story to tell. It becomes
Mm.
novel. Like you're the first drink shop that offers NFTs, and you can get everybody to come in and buy. Now, this is the offline world, but imagine taking this online, right? Like for
Mm.
instance, something that you can deliver digitally. For the next 3 days, if you come over my website, you mint this NFT, you'll be able to claim for this thing, which usually sells for X amount of dollars. So you create a lot of buzz from there. Or you want to make it very premium, as in, all right, I'm going to sell my consulting and I'm going to sell it to you with the traditional fiat currency. But if you buy my premium NFTs, so there's just going to be 10 of them. And if you
Mm.
have the NFT, you have my consulting time.
Which raises a few questions in my mind. One of which is we've talked about NFTs primarily associated with art and collectibles, and ebooks, of course. But I was wondering, in what other ways can they be turned into viable revenue streams for businesses, especially in the, say, tech space, as an example?
Tech space,
Yep, the technology
like,
space.
okay, so let's do maybe an exact example. What's the product of that company?
Oh, let's take CRM, for example.
Right. As in like software, yes? Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
SaaS, like a
yeah.
software as a service application. Now, what they can do is instead of just selling the subscription fee or whatever
Mm.
fee, they can actually sell the NFTs and then allowing them to have access towards the software. That can be
Mhm.
done. And this is of course to the consumer market, not to the business, not to the B2B, but
Right.
B2C concept. So think of it this way. The access for the software could be in the form of NFT as well. And of course, they will still have the normal, yeah, subscription fee as it is. But this NFT that they have and they get access to this, the advantage here is that right now, the pitch is that your access is transferable to anybody else. So if you
Mhm.
buy the NFTs, it means that you can also sell to someone else. So you're not so-called stuck with it. Because if you
Right.
use money to buy, it means that after you have paid, after you have used, you don't have anything left. But
Mhm.
if it's an NFT, just think of it this way. If it's an NFT, it means that you own it. You own the past. So I can give you example of other companies that use a similar model, but they use crypto to sell their subscription. So there are many
Right.
Web3 applications today that are currently selling their subscription with cryptos, with cryptocurrency. So instead of collecting fiat, they're collecting it with that currency. However,
Mhm.
obviously, this is not the mainstream. The obvious reason is simply because not everyone are using cryptos.
Yeah.
Similarly, not everyone are using NFTs. So this is why the market reach won't be there for selected industry. But as an author or content creator, it is relatively easy to do that.
Mm.
The software
So,
will cater for a different market.
right.
It's harder to be adaptive towards that because the end users doesn't really know how to go around that.
Mhm.
If today
So,
I sell, say, assuming this podcast it's not free, assuming that this is something paid, right? It could be, hey, if you own my Sproutworth NFT, therefore you can get access to all the podcasts for free for one-time fee, which is
Right.
NFT. They get it. And the consumer can buy that easily, even with credit cards. Because
Mm.
today, there are many minting platforms that will allow the customer to buy NFTs with credit card and not just with cryptos.
Okay. That becomes suddenly a lot more accessible because I was going to ask you, is there a bit of an education process that we need to take potential customers through in order to onboard them with regards to NFTs?
Yes, that would be required. So this is why, for me, for my mission in this
Mhm.
space right now is to onboard creators to adapt towards NFTs on how they can create the NFTs to sell. So I have a newsletter called the NFTs for Creators newsletter. And that's where I share the latest things on how creators can use that. But aside from that, the reason why I brought this up is that I would teach my customers and students who are creators that you need to have some basic onboarding process for your customers. Sometimes you don't need to be too detailed because, like I said, there are minting platforms that allows them to buy with credit cards. Don't really require that much education anymore. In the past, they can only buy NFTs with cryptos, which is quite an issue for many people who don't have a crypto wallet.
Very interesting. There's obviously a lot of possibilities. Now, when we were talking earlier, you said the NFT market's taken a bit of a nosedive, so to speak, in recent times. For those of us who've are now seeing some possibilities, is this something that's viable in the long term, or should we wait and see? Yeah. How would you speak to us or recommend that we approach this latest challenge in the NFT space?
So what is happening right now with the nosedive and so on, it is something that is unavoidable and it's going to affect everyone who wants to launch their NFTs. So
Mhm.
this is the reality of it. And one of the reasons of why we're having this issue is because of the hype circle where people were buying NFTs for the financial gains. Many of my friends lose a lot of money with that. So they were
Mhm.
trying to buy, game the system, but it just crashed. And the crash is also influenced with the crypto market that is a bit volatile. And as of right now, the crypto market is also nosediving, not too much,
Mhm.
but it is going down in comparison to the previous months or years. So it's going to be challenging to a certain degree for the consumers to have the confidence again. So that's something
Mhm.
happening. However, at the same time, NFTs, I believe, will just be part of the technology, the commonality of how people engage on the internet. And that's why billion-dollar brands, public listed companies are already exploring into NFTs. Now, I want you to look from a different perspective. It is this. If NFTs, it is not a raw hype, but it's going to be a trend that's continuing to grow and at one stage will reach its saturation, as in that stability, not saturation in a negative way. Wouldn't it make sense that we should embrace it right now and bracing up and take advantage of all this right now when the rest, the competitors are not looking at it? Because companies like Adidas, Puma, Nike, Starbucks, Ticketmaster, Mercedes, Porsche, Aston Martin, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Coca-Cola, Diesel, and I can continue to name brands after brands after brands are doing this. Do you still feel that it's a hype? It cannot be hype anymore when
Mhm.
kind of companies Disney are selling its NFTs, they're selling its Mickey Mouse as NFTs right now. Star
Mhm.
Wars are doing all of that. Even movies, Rambo. I watched Rambo. Now you know how old I am, right? Rambo, Predator. Uh, those classic memorables are now being turned into NFTs. Um, if it's a hype, if it's a cash grab, I think public listed companies won't do that. I think public listed companies will have their board of directors to discuss of all of this and
Mhm.
put their brands on something called NFTs without in-depth
Mm.
exploration and so on. Louis Vuitton, like I said, Louis, I mentioned about LV because they just launched something in June recently called the trunk box. You buy the NFT, then you get a trunk box, something like that. Could not
Mhm.
really remember exactly how it goes. I think that this is just going to continue to be an exciting ride and a profitable one. We should start doing it right now so that
Mm.
when market picks up, we are there, and not when the market picks up, then only we start to figure out what
Mhm.
to do. As these billion-dollar companies with millions of fans, they're tweeting to their followers. Marvel just tweet about their Spider-Man, NFTs, and so on. What are they doing? They are educating the market for us right now. So
Mm.
when they're educating the market for us, we don't have to do that. They're putting the confidence into the market so that when we comes in and we sell, the market will feel, hey, is this like a quick rich stuff or some hype? Oh, Starbucks just did that. Oh, now I get it.
Mm.
Oh, blockchain. Oh, Web3, right? So I think the opportunity is always there. At the same time, we are not going into the whole buy this, sell, make money sort of stuff.
You made some really great points. I can see not just the potential use cases, but the longevity in the space, all things doing well. To wrap things up, Patrick, are there perhaps a couple of areas that you find most businesses aren't talking too much about when it comes to NFTs, but should? And if so, what would they be?
I think the most significant aspect would be for curators,
Hmm.
especially authors, speakers, those who have social media followers, and so on. I think that what they need to start exploring is to launch their own NFTs as something their fans and followers can also collect. There is this book called, there's this series of titles called Don't Give a Fuck About Fill in the Blank. No, I'm not here to swear, but I'm just saying that's
Hmm.
exactly how the titles of the book is, right?
Yeah.
So he has all this series of that, and then he launched his NFT so that you can collect a paragraph of his book
Mm.
and collect a paragraph of the book. If you are the NFT collector of that, I think he gives you the permission to do anything you want with the content that you collect, something like that. One of my favorite author is Tim Ferriss for Our Work Week. He launched his NFTs called the Cock Punch Collections. I know it's a funny name. I'm not too sure why they all have all these funny names. It's Cock Punch. It's a PFP collections, which means it's those pictures and so on. It's allowing your fans and customers to be part of your world. Like they
Mm.
want to be proud of what you have. They want to be proud to show the world that they are your customers. Right on that. Give them the advantage. But if you are not at that level with mass customers and so on yet, NFT will be the best way for you to kickstart your creator. I wouldn't use the word career, but your creator journey. Because instead of you coming up with just another book, instead of
Mm.
you coming up with just another seminar, another this, another that, why not come out with a novel approach and do it, say, as an NFT book? That would be something different. Maybe someone will
Mm.
just buy the book for the sake of experiencing the onboarding process to own their first NFTs.
Right.
If
Mm.
I just got started, if I have a book, I haven't launched that yet, I would say, hey, you know what? I'm going to explore this. I'm going to do something different. Because if I can sell that, maybe it becomes more fun.
Mhm.
The price of the book is the same, but now you also get the NFT. So it's a different approach. In short, doesn't matter whether you are already successful or you're just getting started. This is a new playground that you can play at. And it's a fair playground It doesn't require you to have any unfair advantage and so on, because the minting process is the same for everybody. The creation is the
Mhm.
same for everybody. It's just equipping yourself with the know-how knowledge and at the same time, embracing it at the mindset level, because that's what we need. We need to see, all right, this is no longer this. There's a bigger picture of what's going on. That's what happened to me in 2021.
And to wrap things up, if you were listening to this episode, what would you say would be your top takeaway?
Oh, so you're referring to me or the audience?
Yep, to you.
Oh, to me. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. My bad. Okay. I said that each time I do a conversation like this, I get so pumped up and excited. And I am so grateful that I started this 2 years ago. The biggest takeaway that I have is that I feel that I'm at the right place. Whenever I'm saying it again, whatever in my mind, right, I realize that, hey, I'm at the right place. And this inspired me to do even more, but also
Mhm.
inspired me to onboard more people, creators who have zero knowledge about Web3 and NFTs to get started as quickly as possible.
Okay, great. And if listeners are curious, want to find out more or connect with you, where would you recommend they head to?
There are two ways how they can learn more. One, they can check out NFTs for creators.xyz. There are S and S, NFTs for creators.xyz. It's a
Mhm.
free newsletter that I put out for creators and aspiring creators, including a series of video, a series of class to teach all the basics, like how you're going to
Mhm.
get a crypto wallet, what is the minting, all of those, right? So if you do not know anything, that is the place that will teach you everything that you need to get started.
Right.
And yeah, and if you want to learn about digital business and so on, then my brand will be zeroemployees.com. Zeroemployees.com.
Okay.
And last but not least, if you want to connect with me personally, I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Patric Chan. That will be my personal profile.
Okay. But we'll include links to that in the show notes. Patrick, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here. I'm so delighted to be invited and to share with your audience. Again, thank you very much, Vinay. Thank you.